Part 6. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 51. Chapter 51. Calm down the anger. Xiaoling did not immediately mention Sister Mayna's name, but only said, "Do I have to accept your apology?" She had always had a bad temper. Although she had restrained herself a lot after her rebirth, she was slandered as a thief for nothing. How could she be like this? Forget it easily. Lucas showed a kind smile. Apologies must be sincere. Miss, how about all your purchases in the store this time are free? In addition, I will give you a membership card, and you can get a 20% discount if you come again in the future. The 20% off membership card is the most advanced one in the store, the same as the one Li Beer has. Li Beer's face turned ugly all of a sudden. Why, after she had bought so many things in the store and worked so hard to get a senior membership card, this village girl's first time here, she opened her mouth and was given away by the store owner. Open. However, she didn't dare to have an attack in front of Lucas. Legend has it that the background of this shop owner is very mysterious, and anyone who offends him will have a bad end. Xiaoling caught a glimpse of Li Beer's distorted expression from the corner of her eye and smiled. Okay, that's it. Humph, the villain has his way. Li Beer didn't dare to do anything to the shop owner, so he could only ridicule Xiaoling to vent his anger. Shopkeeper Lucas, the shopping environment in your store is really not very good, Xiaoling said, glancing at Li Beer with a hint. So Lucas also smiled. Miss Li Beer, you know the rules of our store. Making noise is strictly prohibited. Since you knowingly broke the rules, I have to ask you to go out. Li Beer's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Lucas actually drove away her, an old customer, for this poor village girl? She shouted unconvinced. Why? I'm not the only one who made the noise just now. This village girl also. Insulting other customers will result in your membership being revoked, Lucas said calmly. With one sentence, Li Beer shut up. She doesn't want her membership to be cancelled. Although she often comes here and spends a lot, she is actually not a rich person, so the 20% off card is still very tempting to her. Without this 20% off card, she would have to buy less of her favorite clothes. No, it hurts her so much. Li Beer shut up angrily. Lucas still had a smile on his face. Why don't you leave? Are you waiting for me to call the security guard to invite someone? Li Beer did not expect that she was going to ask the security guards to drive Xiaoling away, but in the end it was herself who was driven away. She was so angry that her eyes were red. She stamped her feet, turned around and ran away. Xiaoling looked at the scene calmly, without any unbearable feeling in her heart. If you dare to provoke her, you must be prepared to face a miserable end. To be honest, Xiaoling would not have planned to let Li Beer go so easily if Lucas hadn't come forward to make things right. Lucas turned to look at Xiaoling and regained his kind tone. Are you satisfied with the result of this treatment? Xiaoling said nothing and glanced lazily at his teller Xiaoli. Lucas understood, but he shook his head and smiled bitterly in his heart. Whose girl is this? She is so difficult to deal with. Xiaoli has hit a brick wall this time. However, Xiaoli's habit of looking at people's food is indeed a taboo, so it would be a good idea to teach her a lesson. So, Lucas said, Xiaoli, apologize to this lady. Xiaoli is a teller in the store and dare not disobey Lucas. Although she hates Xiaoling very much at this moment, she can only whisper, I'm sorry. What did you say? I can't hear you, Xiaoling sneer. Xiaoli gritted her teeth and had to raise her voice to repeat, I'm sorry. Oh? Why do you have to say sorry to me? She, Xiaoling, didn't just accept a few words in her dictionary. Besides, Xiaoli still has an angry look on her face. Do you think she is blind? Xiaoli was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. She raised her head and looked at Lucas helplessly, hoping that the owner of the shop would come to rescue her quickly and kill the woman who was pushing her too far. However, Lucas said, "When you apologize, you have to apologize until the other party is satisfied." Xiaoli was so angry that she vomited blood. However, the situation was stronger than others. She had no choice but to apologize to Xiaoling in the most humble manner. "I'm sorry, it was my fault. I looked down on others. I shouldn't have done this. The guests are disrespectful, let alone accuse you of stealing. You have a lot of money, please spare me." That's pretty much it? Xiaoling's face showed a look of satisfaction. Xiao Li had been paying attention to her face, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. But unexpectedly, Lucas spoke again. "Xiao Li, now that you know you were wrong, you must take responsibility for your mistakes. This month's bonus will be deducted." "What?" Xiao Li gasped. "You must know that the basic salary of their tellers is very low, and they all rely on large bonuses. Now, this month's bonus has been deducted, and she has a lot of credit card debt. What to do?" It was only now that Xiao Li truly regretted it. She regretted it extremely. Why did she provoke the devil in front of her? Not only did you lose face, but you also lost all your dignity. Xiaoling didn't know what Xiao Li was thinking, but she didn't intend to help her. Lucas was right, if you do something wrong, you have to take responsibility, right? She smiled brightly at Lucas. The owner is very fair. The previous unhappiness has now been resolved by Lucas. Lucas was somewhat impressed by the girl in front of him. Although she was dressed shabbily, he could tell at a glance that she was something special with his sophisticated eye that had seen countless people. There is an aura about this girl. Even if everyone thinks she is a beggar, she is like a high-ranking queen dominating the world. She is calm and shining, as if everyone else is vulnerable in her eyes. He felt good about her, winked and said, "I'm glad I can help you vent your anger. Then, for my sake, can you let the shop go? When you turned around to leave just now, your hand inside." "Oh, you're talking about this," Xiaoling suddenly realized. No wonder Lucas spared no effort to help her, it was because he noticed her little move. She took out her delicate mobile phone from her coat pocket, turned to the recording interface in front of Lucas, and pressed the delete button. The recording of Xiao Li and Li Bier slandering her for stealing and trying to drive her away was completely deleted. "You did record it?" Lucas was still worried. "You know, if Xiaoling sends this recording to the media, the reputation of his store will be ruined. Not only are the tellers bullying others, but even regular customers like Li Bier are of extremely poor quality. The outside world will think, what kind of scum are the customers who come to your store to spend money? As for this store, the main customer base is some small celebrities. In order to consider the public impact, a large number of people will no longer come to shop in the future, which will cause immeasurable losses to the store. This is why Lucas wants to calm down Xiaoling's anger no matter what." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 52. Chapter 52. 10 sets of beautiful clothes. This is the first time Xiaoling used such a trick, with good results, and she felt happy. In her last life, she was just willful, stupid, and naive, and that was why she was framed to pieces. After being reborn in this life, she learned from the experience and decided not to make that mistake again and to be more considerate. So, when she had nothing to do, she recalled the methods Chu Chen used when she was her agent and studied in silence. She is already smart, and with Chu Chen as a famous teacher in front of her, she is now able to do a small test with ease. After finishing the recording matter, she got to the point. "Lucas, shop owner, it was Sister Maina who introduced me. I am a newly debuted singer in Tianyi, and I need to buy a few sets of clothes for daily wear. She recommended it to me. Here." "I see." Lucas said, "Tianyi and my store have a long-term cooperative relationship. When people from Tianyi come to shop, they only need to sign the order. In other words, the 20% off card I gave you just now is also free of charge for this purchase. Promises are of no use to you. Xiaoling chuckled, this shop owner is really frank. Indeed, all her purchases are made with public funds, and whether there is a discount or not, the bill is inevitable. What does it have to do with her personally? However, for the sake of being so kind to others, she just said, it doesn't matter. In her previous life, she didn't take millions of money seriously. Although she was poor in this life, she still wouldn't spend money with people for such a small amount of money. Careful about every detail. Lucas had a better impression of her. This girl was very vengeful towards those who offended her, but she was very open-minded and cheerful about other things, and she was very responsive to his temper. So he said, let's do this. In addition to the budget Tianyi gives you, I will give you a few sets of clothes for free. I will give you as much extra as you sign with Tianyi. Xiao Li looked at her with eyes wide open. When did her shop owner become so easy to talk to? You know, Lucas usually has a hard time talking, which is why so many people are afraid of him. It has never happened before that he took the initiative to give away so many things to others. Xiaoli regretted it so much. If she had known that the shop owner was so kind to this girl, she would not have provoked him. Xiaoling thanked Lucas with a smile and started picking out clothes. Originally, Lucas wanted to accompany her to choose, and planned to introduce to her the characteristics of each piece of clothing and what would suit her, but Xiaoling declined. She walked around the store by herself and selected 10 sets in a short time. These 10 sets are all seasonal spring clothes, including bright and soft dresses, sweaters, shirts, blouses, and various trousers. She will not have to worry about clothing in the next 3 months. Lucas looked at her choices and his eyes lit up. He didn't expect that although this girl was dressed in a tacky style, she really had a good eye for choosing things. No. Not only not bad, but even better than him. These 10 sets of clothes are the best in the store in terms of styles, colors, and materials. More importantly, they perfectly match her temperament. Lucas glanced at Xiaoling with admiration, took out 5 sets of clothes and asked her to sign Tianyi's order. The other 5 sets of clothes were given as gifts. He asked Xiaoli to wrap it for her, and the exquisite packages were piled in several large and small piles on the counter. Xiaoling looked at the small mountain-like packaging and felt a little worried. How should she take it back? Lucas said, I will send someone to deliver it to you, you just need to leave an address. Xiaoling breathed a sigh of relief and left her address, Tianyi Training Camp Dormitory, in a good manner. Lucas kept the address and gave her the 20% off membership card he had promised before. Even if you don't use it, you can give it to relatives and friends. She had no relatives worth sending, and very few friends. However, seeing how enthusiastic Lucas was, she couldn't refuse, so she had to accept. She then said goodbye to Lucas and left. Not long after returning to the dormitory, all the clothes have been delivered. Wow, there are so many clothes, so beautiful. Lan Lan and the others in the same dormitory have not yet debuted. At this time, they were surrounded by Xiaoling's new clothes with envy, and they all praised, it's great to be able to debut. Xiaoling usually got along well with them, so she smiled and said, when you all debut, I will give you one each. Lan Lan and the others still lacked some talent in singing skills, and it was still early for their debut. They must wait until they can. When she debuted, she had already made some money. When the time comes, it won't be a big deal to give them some clothes. Lan Lan and the others were very happy. They laughed and thanked Xiaoling, and then shouted, Ling, come on and show us these clothes. Look at the style and color. They should suit you very well. They are better than the street stalls your stepmother bought for you. The goods are much better. Xiaoling was too lazy to try it on at first. She didn't know how many clothes she had worn that were much better than this. However, Remembering Sister Mayna's previous instructions, she had to cheer up and change them one by one. "Take pictures for me," she told her roommates. "My agent wants to see them." Girls naturally like to do these things. They enthusiastically helped Xiaoling change clothes, and carefully took photos of each outfit from different angles. It was already early in the morning after all the fussing. Xiaoling was almost exhausted. She sent the photo to Sister Mayna and fell asleep. When I opened my eyes the next day, I received a text message reply from Sister Mayna, 10 sets. I checked the financial records and found that you only bought 5 sets in the name of Tianyi. How did you get the other 5 sets? Xiaoling had no choice but to explain to her what happened before. At the other end, Sister Mayna looked at the text message and couldn't laugh or cry. This young newcomer, really, looks pretty delicate on the outside, but why does he have such a bad temper? He has such a temper that he cannot bear any loss. No, Li Beer was offended as soon as he went out. Although Li Beer was just a little star, his little guy caused trouble too quickly. However, it seems to have caught Lucas's eye. Sister Mayna, who has worked with him for many years, knows very well what kind of character Lucas has. No one has ever allowed him to give away so many things in one go. Thinking of this, Sister Mayna smiled again. If you offend someone who has nothing to do with her, just offend her. This little guy knows how to use his charm on the edge, and that's enough. She studied Xiaoling's outfit photos carefully, pondered for a moment, and pulled up her contact list. Among the dozens of lists in the stylist column, she found a name and sent Xiaoling's photo. Within a few days, Xiaoling was taken to do styling by Sister Mayna. It was a large styling center, with many fashionably dressed people coming and going, including many beautiful faces who often appeared in the media. Xiaoling was taken into one of the studios by Sister Mai Na, where several stylists were busy. Somewhat unexpectedly, Xiaoling saw Lu Tao. Lu Tao is doing styling together with his partner. Both of them are in hip-hop style. He has unruly short hair, a rivet vest, and motorcycle gloves. He looks a bit rebellious. She then remembered that his group had debuted some time before hers. When Lu Tao saw Xiaoling, he had a look of surprise on his face. "Yes, Xingling, I heard that you also made your debut a few days ago. Before I could congratulate you, I met you here. I have to work hard in the future and come to see you if you encounter anything. You brother Lu." She smiled at him. Lu Tao's stylist came over and looked at Xiaoling. The little girl's style is very clean. She must have asked Senior Eric to do the styling. Of all the stylists here, he is the most powerful. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 53. Chapter 53. Away, you have fallen into a trap. Xiaoling said, "I don't know, my agent brought me here." Sister Mayna, Lu Tao's stylist, glanced at Sister Mayna, who was talking to Eric not far away, a very strict agent, but she is a very nice person and has produced many famous stars under her management. You're lucky if you can let her take care of you. Xiaoling still smiled. He is right. Although Sister Mayna is a little strict and has a bit of a sharp tongue, she is really kind, dedicated and responsible. Every aspect of her work is carefully arranged for her. She just hopes that she is really lucky this time and can entrust herself to an agent she can trust instead of encountering a scumbag like Chu Chen. Sister Mayna finished talking to Eric, brought him over, and introduced him to Xiaoling. Eric is a tall man in his 30s, looks fair and clean, wears a black shirt, and smells of Chanel men's perfume. "I have read your information," he said to Xiaoling. "In the early days of your debut, your style has not yet been formed and is very malleable. Your temperament is cooler than ordinary people, with a sense of mystery, which is not suitable for being too ostentatious. In addition, you have beautiful features, good face shape and good body structure, so it will be advantageous to take a cold and distant approach. Xiaoling nodded, agreed with his opinion, and let him do whatever he wanted. He picked out several materials and colors that best matched her, and suggested that she match them accordingly in the future. She put on makeup again, very light everyday makeup, and the corners of her eyes and eyebrows were faintly attracting attention. He also did her hair, with clean and fine layers, and one of the highlights was dyed a mysterious purple, making her look more delicate and cold. After finishing one set, Xiaoling stood up and looked at herself in the mirror. In the mirror, she is wearing a finely engraved dress, light white, with an amber pendant around her neck, which is unique and matches the color of her eyes. It's perfect, no matter which angle the lens is taken from, there won't be a single flaw. She was very satisfied. Sister Maina is also very satisfied. I finally look like an artist. She took Xiaoling out of the styling center and said, "Get ready. In a few days, come with me to visit several record producers. Get to know them, get familiar with them, and most importantly, see which one is suitable for you. Make a song." Xiaoling thought of the agreement she made with Wei Shaiyin a few months ago. "Sister Maina," she said, "Wei Shaiyin once said that she was willing to make Taoist music for me." Sister Maina was startled and looked at her with a bit of surprise. "Have you mastered Wei Shaiyin? He hasn't made a song for newcomers in many years. This person is very picky and never has the patience to give guidance to newcomers." Xiaoling called Wei Shaiyin in front of her. "Hello, Wei. You said you would help me make a song. Is this promise still valid now?" Wei Shaiyin was startled on the other end of the phone. "Xiaoling, you made your debut so soon? When did the company's review process become so efficient that promise will naturally be effective? I'm waiting for you." Xiaoling hung up the phone and nodded to Sister Maina. "You and Wei have this kind of relationship, I feel much more at ease." Sister Maina thought thoughtfully, and then raised a malicious smile on her lips. "It will be convenient for me to make requests if he is in charge." Too much. Xiaoling didn't understand what she meant at first, until she went to see Wei Shaiyin with her. Number 1 on the new song list, number 1 on the new artist list, these are the minimum. Sister Maina sat on the couch in the recording studio, her legs elegantly crossed, holding a red wine glass in one hand, and stretched out her gold-pink coat. Fingertips, full of momentum, pointing the country, "I must be in the top 3 in the total sales list, and I must win the Best Newcomer of the Year award." Wei Shaiyin was submissive and changed from the arrogant look of the past. He seems to be afraid of Sister Maina, and he doesn't know why. However, after hearing Sister Maina's last request, he still had to resist. "Although if I make music, even a pig can get the number 1 spot on the new song chart." Xiaoling glared at him fiercely and said, "Hey, who are you calling a pig?" Wei Shaiyin ignored it and continued, "The previous requirements are all fine, but for the Best Newcomer of the Year award, this time, the Emperor Xiaoyu is on the short list." Xiaoyu. This name made Xiaoling quiet for a moment. She had always avoided thinking about it before, but until this moment, she had to face the problem. From now on, she would compete with Xiaoyu on the same stage. Their debut dates are too close, so they will inevitably be compared. The entertainment industry is a very cruel place, where the fittest survive, and no one will give in on this matter. There was some tightness and pain in my chest, and most of the joy caused by my debut had dissipated unconsciously. Wei Shaiyin was carefully explaining to Sister Maina, "Look, for the Best Newcomer award, all newcomers who have debuted within 2 years are eligible to participate. Xiaoyu debuted at the end of last year, so it is appropriate to participate in this year's selection. Emperor, to praise her so highly is to ensure that she will win the Best Newcomer award this year," he said. "But as for Xiaoling, according to the current progress, The first new song will not be officially released until at least the middle to late this year. Compared with Xiaoyue, she has half a year less time to get this year's The Best Rookie award is too hasty. It would be much more appropriate if we set the goal next year. These words were reasonable, and even Xiaoling nodded in agreement. Sister Meina glanced at the two of them with disdain in her eyes. You are so good at this. Yes, Ling, let me tell you, if you don't win the Best Newcomer award this year, believe it or not, I will hide you. Xiaoling. Okay, she didn't dare to say anything, she quickly lowered her head and pretended to be good. Sister Mai Na turned her fire to Wei Shaiyin again, and you, Wei Shaiyin, where is your dignity as a gold medal music producer? For so many years, I have just watched Feng Kun step on your head and dominate you. Blessings. In the past, it was Xiaoling. Well, let's just assume that you couldn't beat him because you didn't have such a legendary singer. But now it's Xiaoyu. If you can't beat him, why do you still have the dignity to go out? Change your career to selling tofu as soon as possible. I can't beat Feng Kun, Wei Shaiyin gritted his teeth. Sister Mai Na looked down upon him. How can you beat him? After so many years, you know, Feng Kun has always been the first and you are the second. I think you are afraid of him, or you have been beaten for a long time, losing your confidence. Now, you don't even have the guts to compete with him for the Best Newcomer award. Isn't it the Best Newcomer award? Who said I can't win? Wei Shaiyin was angry. Well said, Sister Meina clapped slowly and smiled with satisfaction. Then I'll wait and see who will win this year's Best Newcomer award. Xiaoling. Away, you have fallen into a trap, do you know? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 54. Chapter 54 Glass Fingertips. Xiaoling is not obsessed with the Best Newcomer award, and her heart aches at the thought of competing with Xiaoyu. She always remembered that when she was a child in the orphanage, Xiaoyu gently pulled the corners of her clothes with her little hands that were swollen due to illness, and softly called her sister. Xiaoyu was so young at that time. She would be happy for a piece of candy for several days, but later on, even if she had mountains of gold and silver piled in front of her, she could calmly push her own sister down. Abyss. Xiaoling doesn't want to meet her again, not because she lets her go, not because she can't compete with her, but because every time she faces her, she always thinks of those painful past events. Wei Shaiyin doesn't have the same worries as Xiaoling. His trouble lies with Feng Kun. Although Sister Mai Na used the provoking method that day, her words were very different. Over the years, although Feng and Wei have been known as twins, in general, it was Feng Kun who was ranked so much higher than Wei Shaiyin. A little bit. For singles released at the same time, under normal circumstances, Feng Kun will have better sales, and in terms of media evaluation, Feng Kun will also be higher. In fact, most people in the industry believe that Wei Shaiyin cannot be blamed for this. The music styles of the two are different. Wei Shaiyin's music is more concise and delicate, while Feng Kun's gorgeous and showy skills are naturally more eye-catching. What's more, as Sister Mai Na said, Feng Kun had the legendary Queen Xiaoling under his command back then, while Wei Shaiyin's soldiers were all ordinary soldiers. But Wei Shaiyin obviously didn't think so, and tried his best to fight Feng Kun. He put down all the work he was doing and worked on his debut song with a murderous spirit. Whether it's writing lyrics or composing music, I have to do it all by myself. I turn off my mobile phone, move my address, refuse all social activities, and stay in the dark without sleep. So, when Xiaoling got the score, she couldn't believe it was such a quiet and melodious melody. The song is called Glass Fingertips. It tells the story of a girl in a white dress who misses her lover alone on a rainy afternoon. She leaned alone in front of the floor-to-ceiling glass window, tracing her lover's name over and over again with her fingertips. One stroke of a pen, on the cold glass, in the silent air, write down the longings buried deep in my heart. An uncomplicated song, like a quiet little poem, accompanied by light piano music. However, Xiaoling deeply understands the difficulty of this song. The simpler it is, the purer it is, and the purer it is, the easier it is to get started, but it is more difficult to sing to the extreme than other songs. Xiaoling felt that the person who offended Wei Shaiyin was not Feng Kun, but her. This kind of song can certainly become a classic if it is sung well, but if you are not careful at all, it will be the fate of being lost to the public. At this moment, Xiaoling misses Feng Kun very much and would rather get the song Siren. The culprit was still complacent. Xiaoling, your voice is very special. It sounds cold and distant at first, but becomes psychedelic when you listen carefully. It is also rare to be light and clean. Among all the singers I have seen, you are the best. The only person who can perfectly combine these qualities. I believe you can sing loneliness into eternity. Your expressiveness is extraordinary. This song is tailor-made for you and will definitely become famous. Xiaoling was weak. Master, okay, you have been locked up alone for so long, and you just figured this out? Are you really not considering making a gorgeous revenge song? I am very good at singing songs that show off my skills. Yes, I will never embarrass you, really. Wei Shaiyin was unmoved. Music is the sound that comes from the soul. Only idiots like Feng Kun can use skills to cover up the beauty of human nature. Xiaoling, let me tell you, with your talent, you will work hard all your life with skills. But Xiaoling, don't you want to become a queen? I'm showing you a way to stand higher and further than Xiaoling. What kind of road is this? It's just a tightrope. She took back the song Glass Fingertips with melancholy and followed Wei Shaiyin's instructions to get familiar with it. After practicing for a few days, the more I practiced, the more amazed I became. It is a kind of beauty that is extremely clean and refined, quiet and distant, timeless and hard to listen to. Wei Shaiyin is right, this song can freeze time and become eternity. She put all her mind into this song, forgetting to sleep and eat. So, she came back to her senses only when her phone rang for the third time. She grabbed her phone with some irritation and saw the silly leopard portrait on the caller ID, which turned out to be the big boss Li Lei again. Xiaoling was slightly shocked. She really didn't know what the big boss wanted in her, and why was he still lingering. "Hello," she said angrily. On the other end of the phone, Li Lei's charming voice came with a deep smile. "What's wrong, little beauty, are you so angry?" "I'm practicing singing." She was still angry. Boss Li didn't take her anger seriously. He just said, "Stop practicing and go out with me to play." Xiaoling was stunned. "Shall I go out with you to play?" It seems that they haven't gotten to know each other well enough. "Yes," Li Lei said matter-of-factly, "you can make your debut so quickly, and you don't even think about whose credit it is. Even Tan Ying asked you to thank me, but you don't even know how to express it by going out with me." As he spoke, he actually felt a little aggrieved. Xiaoling only felt that one was bigger than the other, and she vaguely remembered that when she signed the debut contract, Tan Ying actually asked her to remember to thank Li Lei. She thought it was just a joke, but she didn't expect that the big boss was actually waiting. "Xiaoling, why don't you say anything?" The big boss refused to give up. "Xiaoling, I kind of regret staying at Tianyi." The big boss smiled and said, "Sorry, that's good. Let's go out and relax. The peach blossoms in Nanshan are blooming. I will take you to ride a horse to see the peach blossoms." Nanshan outside the city has extremely beautiful scenery, especially in spring. The continuous 10-mile peach blossom forest makes people forget to leave. There is also an equestrian club nearby, which is a favorite place for the rich second generation of the city. But Xiaoling didn't want to go. "Master boss, I'm not feeling well, you'd better find someone else." "You should go out to relax if you feel unwell," Mr. Boss continued. I'm in the training camp right now. Do you want me to pick you up? I'll bring you some medicine and sick meals. Don't. Before he could finish his words, Xiaoling had decisively stopped him. Don't come to me. I'll accompany you to Nanshan. She almost wanted to cry. What was this? If she really wanted him to come over, she will definitely deliberately show off to the whole city. Will she still have her reputation by then? It's better to just do what he wants and just work overtime, she thought with abandonment. Reluctantly putting away the music sheet, she put on a light-colored loose top and a pair of slim cropped pants. Her whole person had the fresh air of an early spring outing, which also made her originally depressed mood a little better. Afraid of being seen, she asked Li Lei to meet in the garage and got into his modified off-road vehicle when no one was around. He sat calmly in the driver's seat, watching her get in like a thief, and couldn't help but raise an imperceptible smile at the corner of his lips. This girl is indeed very special. She is low-key and does not follow the crowd, which is very suitable for him. He is looking forward to this trip to Nanshan more and more. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 55. Chapter 55. I haven't caught up yet. The peach blossoms in Nanshan are blooming brilliantly. Xiaoling was led by Li Lei through the peach blossom forest to the outdoor lawn of the horse racing club. Under the shaded wooden veranda on the lawn, there were more than a dozen young men and women gathered in twos and threes. The men all wore famous clothes and watches, looking like children from a wealthy family, while the girls were each more beautiful than the other and had all been carefully dressed up, nestling next to the rich kids. When Xiaoling saw this posture, she paused slightly. What did Li Lei think of her? Female companion? What kind of decent female companion could there be in such a situation? They are all those who climb into the gold master's bed. A faint anger arose in her heart. However, before the attack happened, someone with sharp eyes had already seen them. Hey, Mr. Li, you are finally here. Who is this little beauty? Looking at me, when did you hook up with Lily? Go, this little beauty cannot be compared with Lily. Li Lei scolded with a smile, and pulled her forward. This is Yasin Ling, a newly debuted singer from Daishanyi. Please support her in the future. Following his words, everyone's eyes focused on Xiaoling. The men were okay, but the 7 or 8 girls were not so friendly. They were as picky as X-rays and wanted to scan her whole body. Tisk, really, those girls thought with disdain. This one named Yasin Ling is just average in appearance. Her are not big enough, her legs are not long enough, her and are not curved enough. She is thin and malnourished, except for her slim waist. I can't find a single good point in my whole body. How can I be with such a top-notch man as Xiao Li Xiao? Xiao Li is very famous in their circle. In terms of family background, he comes from the mysterious and dangerous underworld Li family. He stomps his feet casually, making other big families tremble. In terms of appearance, he is a mixed race, so handsome that he can make any woman scream. In terms of figure, it is said that his muscles were not trained in the gym like other rich second-generation people, but were built through real sword fights and battlefields. His allure is countless times greater than others. In terms of ability, he has created a blockbuster industry on his own. Unlike other second-generation rich people who rely on their family to make ends meet, in terms of intelligence, taste, wealth, and ability to coax women. In every case, Li Lei was victorious. How can they tolerate such a perfect man now having an average-looking female companion? How are they inferior to Xiaoling? Why did young Master Li fall in love with Xiaoling? The girls were very unhappy, very unhappy. Yasin Ling, a beautiful girl, smiled coquettishly and snuggled into the arms of her sponsor. I've never heard of it. It's good to follow Mr. Li. No matter how ordinary people are, they can debut as singers. The implication is that Xiaoling did not become a singer by her own ability, but by relying on unspoken rules and relying on Li Lei to open the back door for her. I can still be a singer if I don't follow him, Xiaoling said coldly. She was unhappy and spoke very directly without any euphemism. Everyone around her gasped. Is she crazy? How did she speak? Forget about choking that pretty girl, why did you bring Li Lei along with you? Does she know who Li Lei is? Does she know that he can strangle her to death with just a few fingers? Many girls looked gloating, thinking that if they offended Mr. Li, they would just wait to die. Don't think that Mr. Li always smiles and seems to have a good temper. In fact, among these rich kids, he is the most explosive and the most annoying. There are rumors that once, just because his female companion said something wrong, he cut her into pieces and fed her to his pets as snacks. The girls were waiting to see Xiaoling's show, and even the children from the rich family were interested in seeing how Li Lei would be punished. But Li Lei just touched his nose in a good-tempered way. Yes, yes, you can still be a singer without me. A group of people were shocked. Is this a lie? Young Master Li, who is said to be hot-tempered and unprovoked, didn't actually get angry. Listening to this tone, you are still giving in and coaxing the girl in front of you. It simply ruins your outlook on life. Looking at Xiaoling again, her face was calm. It's good that you know nonsense, she has the potential to be a queen. Which entertainment company does she go to, just to give face to that entertainment company and ask him to praise her? The group of people watching were shocked again. How could this girl be so rude? Why is it so natural? Li Lei didn't take it for granted. He changed the subject with a smile and introduced her. Well, the handsome guy in front of you is Du Yunfen, the heir to the Du family in the east of the city. The one on the left is the third son of the real estate Lu family. The one next to him is Du Yunfen, the second young master of the Zhou family who runs a restaurant chain. He introduced all the rich kids present to Xiaoling one by one. At first, the children from the rich family were a little stunned, but they were used to seeing various scenes. Soon, the children from the rich family, headed by Du Yunfen, greeted her with a smile, and they seemed to know each other. Their female companions, if they just disliked Xiaoling at first, are now filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred to the point of exploding their lungs. Why would young Master Li formally introduce her to others? You know, the female companion is the plaything of the benefactor. She has no status. The benefactor will not introduce a plaything to his friends at all. When they were brought here, they were not formally introduced, and they were all just like the appendages of the sponsor. But, what happened to Mr. Li? These girls couldn't understand that Du Yunfen and other rich children were all experienced, smart, and thoughtful. At this moment, they understood that with Li Lei's identity and temperament, it was impossible for a plaything to be brought to the stage. Since it is solemnly introduced to them, it is definitely not as simple as a plaything. Are you getting a girlfriend? Du Yunfen teased. A group of girls' hearts were in their throats. Could it be that this Xiaoling is young Master Li's official girlfriend? No, she is so ordinary, how can she be worthy of young Master Li? How can you? Li Lei smiled. The group of girls suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, just saying, lazy toads don't want to eat swan meat. However, Li Lei's next words made their hearts shatter. I haven't caught it yet, he said a little aggrievedly. Du Yunfen, the third son of the Lu family, the second young master of the Zhou family. Young Master Li, you don't have to gasp like this, and do you know how shocking this news is? With your methods and ability to chase girls, you, Mr. Li, can't catch this ordinary-looking girl. Don't make trouble, okay? A group of people complained silently in their hearts. Xiaoling frowned and said directly, don't make trouble. Li Lei looked at her aggrievedly. So even Xiaoling couldn't help but complain in her heart, Boss Li, how old are you this year? Why do you still imitate children's act of coquettishness? Who are you pretending to be wronged for? Do you think I will relent? No. Xiaoling gritted her teeth and ignored him. Li Lei blinked aggrievedly, and when he saw that Xiaoling was really ignoring him, he blinked again, put away his aggrieved expression, and moved closer to her. "Come ride with me." No, Xiaoling simply refused. "Why?" He pretended to be aggrieved again. "I'm on my period," she said confidently. Li Lei. So, a group of rich kids took their female companions and went horseback riding. Only Xiaoling was left, sitting comfortably on a wicker chair, basking in the warm sun and drinking tea. It's not bad to steal half a day's leisure. It's not a bad way to spend time like this. However, before I felt comfortable for a long time, trouble came to my door. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 56. Chapter 56. Looking for a venue. The warm sunlight is blocked by shadows. Xiaoling raised her head and unexpectedly saw an old acquaintance, Li Beer. At this time, Li Beer was obviously carefully dressed up. She had gorgeous and charming long curly hair. She wore a fiery red bodysuit and bright riding boots. She looked beautiful and hot. She looked at Xiaoling condescendingly. "Why are you here?" "None of your business," Xiaoling replied calmly. Actually, she was quite surprised when she saw Li Beer. She didn't expect that the world is so small, and this Li Beer must also be one of Li Lei's female companions in his circle of friends. The rich second-generation dandy likes to play with little celebrities, but I don't know who has such poor taste and picked such a shallow and trouble-making person. Li Beer was very angry at Xiaoling's indifferent look, and her chest heaved. "Who do you think you are, and you are qualified to sit here? Tell me. How did you sneak in? If you don't tell me, I will call the security." The scene seems familiar. Xiaoling's lips curved up with a hint of mockery. "Haven't you suffered enough?" "What?" Li Beer was stunned. "A few days ago, it felt good to be kicked out of Lucas's shop, right?" Xiaoling played with the glass in her hand, the beautiful rose tea lining her white fingertips. "Now, do you want to be kicked out again, rush once?" When mentioning the last time he was kicked out of the store, Li Beer's face turned blue and white, and his eyes almost burst into flames when he looked at Xiaoling. She has never been so embarrassed since she was a child. It made her so embarrassed that she never goes to Lucas' shop again. She didn't even buy the latest spring clothes, so she had to wear old clothes to Nanshan. It's all this ugly woman's fault. She's so ugly and has no new clothes to wear. She was just mocked openly and implicitly by a girl next to the second young master of the Zhou family. No, she must get her place back. Li Beer gritted his teeth, and his delicately made-up face was distorted. However, because of the lesson learned last time, Li Beer managed to have some sense this time. "Who did you come with?" she asked, fearing that Xiaoling had some powerful backers. After all, those who can bring female companions into the Nanshan Horse Racing Club are rich men with good backgrounds. Before she provokes others, she must first make sure that she can afford to provoke them. Xiaoling said slowly, "You don't care who I came with." She didn't have a good habit of answering all questions, and she didn't want to use Li Lei's name to show off. Even if she guessed Li Beer's intention, she wouldn't bother speak. Li Beer thought she was scared, and proudly puffed out her plump chest. "I came here with young Master Tuesday. In their circle, young Master Zhou is very popular. Apart from Li Lei and Du Yunfan, he is the one." As long as he didn't offend Li Lei and Du Yunfan's women, Li Beer wasn't afraid at all. Xiaoling looked at her like an idiot. "Why, is it glorious to climb into the bed of a rich second generation? What's more, she just saw young Master Zhou holding two girls in his arms. Why didn't Li Beer hurry up and compete for favors and waste time with her as an idler?" Li Beer saw that she didn't speak, so she thought she had guessed correctly. This stinky woman didn't have any powerful backers at all. She became proud and glanced sideways at Xiaoling. Aren't you going to get out? Wait until Master Zhou comes. Who is telling my people to get lost? Suddenly, a lazy voice came. Xiaoling turned her head and looked around, and saw Li Lei slowly walking out from the shadow of a large vine. He was wearing a white riding outfit, and his wheat-colored skin looked wild and handsome. Behind him, followed a dozen young men and women. It was the rich children and their female companions who had just gone riding together, and they were returning from riding. Li Bier's expression changed. Who was speaking just now? Oh my God, did she hear it right? Could it be? With a careless smile on his face, Li Lei walked up to her step by step. Is it you, the one who bullied me? No, 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 I didn't. Li Bier was so frightened that her tongue was tied. How could it be possible? It's really Mr. Li. How could this average-looking, stinky woman with no or be brought in by Mr. Li? She. Li Bier was about to cry. I was joking with her. Yes, I was joking. Oh, Li Lei was still laughing. I was joking with you too. Show me. Li Bier was stunned. She didn't expect Li Lei to say such a thing. What should she do? Li Lei had a fierce reputation in this circle, and she didn't dare to provoke him. She turned to look at Xiaoling, only to see that hateful smelly woman just playing with the glass flower teacup in her hand, her expression indifferent and calm, as if all the disputes around her were gone. It has nothing to do with her. Li Bier had no choice but to look for help at his sponsor Mr. Tuesday. But young Master Tuesday ignored her at all. Not to mention that she wasn't the most favored by him. Even if she was the most favored, he didn't have to offend Li Lei for a bed-warming thing. Just kidding, Li Lei had already formally introduced Xiaoling to a group of friends, making it clear that he was very interested in that girl. How could Li Bier, a plaything, compare to someone else's most cherished treasure? Mr. Jojo shrugged. Li Er, don't give me face. It's up to you how to deal with it. Li Lei is also the second eldest son in the family, and all his acquaintances call him that. Hearing this, Li Lei smiled even brighter, his teeth whitening as he said, then get lost. The tone was like the spring breeze blowing on the face, but it made Li Bier tremble with fear. She felt bitter in her heart. She had offended the terrible young Master Li, and she didn't even have anyone to support her. She had no choice but to cover her face and walk out in despair. Come back. After walking a few steps, Li Lei's voice was heard. Li. What else do you have to say, Mr. Li? She was trembling and about to cry. I told you to get out of here and see me, Li Lei said lazily and pointed at her with the riding crop. Don't you understand? Roll. Roll. At once, everyone realized what young Master Li meant. It turned out that he really told her to get out. This Li Bier is so miserable. Tisk tisk, it's not good to offend anyone, but she wants to offend young Master Li? Get out of here. A few girls couldn't help but look at the terrain nearby. Although it was grassland, there were scattered gravel paths and some thin peach blossom branches scattered around. If it rolled down all the way, it wouldn't be dirty. It's embarrassing, or not. This face will be severely scratched, almost disfigured. As expected, it's okay to offend anyone, but you must not offend young Master Li. Li Bier was so frightened that with 2 bags of tears in her eyes, she begged Li Lei pitifully, Young Master Li, I don't want to leave. Li Lei was still smiling. I don't want to leave, please don't let me leave, Li Bier kept begging. Li Lei said slowly, there's no point in begging me. As he said this, he glanced at Xiaoling casually. It suddenly dawned on everyone that the decision of whether to go away or not was in the hands of this girl who drank tea calmly. It will be on the shelves starting from the next chapter. Thank you all for your support all the way. I hope you will continue to support it after it is on the shelves. Regarding fees, all authors' books are charged at a unified price on the website, which is 5 cents per 1,000 words, that is, 5 book coins, VIP discounts, very cheap. Some people ask, why does this book cost 10 book coins while others only have 1,000 words per chapter? It's a 2,000 word chapter, twice as much content. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xiaoweiniang. Chapter 57. Chapter 57. I helped her out. Li Beer is going crazy. Why do you still demand this stinky woman? It's okay to beg Li Lei. After all, Mr. Li's status is such that even if it's embarrassing, he can only admit it. However, if this stinky woman is different, who is this stinky woman? Not long ago, she was seen wearing shabby seasonal discounted clothes. How could such a stinky woman deserve to be begged? She refuses to accept it. Li Beier's face turned blue and white, and she looked at Xiaoling with a bit of resentment. Xiaoling was still drinking tea, holding the glass with her white fingertips, admiring the rose petals blooming slowly in the cup. She didn't even look at Li Beer. She wasn't the one who was embarrassed, so what's the rush? The situation seems to be at a stalemate. Young Master Jojo had to stand up. Li Beer, apologize to Miss Ye quickly. This Li Beer is the person he brought. If this matter is not handled well, I am afraid it will affect his relationship with Li Lei, and even affect the relationship between him and Li Lei. To the family business. In response to this, his voice when he scolded Li Beer had a hint of coldness. Li Beer was trembling with fright. Li Lei was not easy to mess with, and young Master Zhou was not a good person. She knew that as her sponsor, whenever he spoke in this tone, he was really angry, and the consequences would be disastrous. She bit her lip and finally said to Xiaoling reluctantly, Miss Ye, I'm sorry, please be kind and spare me. Xiaoling took another sip of tea slowly, then raised her eyelids to look at her and smiled slightly. You don't accept it? No, no, I'm not dissatisfied, Li Beer still said reluctantly, but the anger in her heart was getting higher and higher. This stinky woman, please accept her apology quickly. What are you doing? Xiaoling's eyes flashed, then why do I sound so reluctant? Li Beer, yes Xingling, don't bully others too much, she couldn't hold it back after all. Then I'm not convinced, Xiaoling said softly and skillfully. I just don't accept it. Li Beer didn't have a tolerable temper. After being provoked by someone, she gave up. Yes Xingling, if you don't have young Master Li to support you, you are nothing. Don't be so proud. I think you can be proud of it for a few days. Young Master Li always changes his female companion faster than he changes his clothes. Seeing how shabby Xiaoling was before, she probably only got close to young Master Li recently. After a few days, Mr. Li's freshness wore off and he abandoned Xiaoling, which made her cry a lot. Xiaoling tilted her head slightly, with a smile on her lips. Very good, she was just waiting for the sentence, and it was not in vain that she deliberately angered Li Beer. When Li Lei left the decision of whether or not to get out to her, she was actually unhappy in her heart. Although she knew that Li Lei was trying to make her vent his anger, didn't this confirm that she was young Master Li's woman and was staying with young Master Li? She doesn't want this. Don't be indebted to Li Lei, but rely on your own strength to make people speechless. Very good, she slowly put down the glass teacup in her hand. Li Beer, please make a clear path. How can I convince you? No matter what Li Beer did, she would follow. Li Beer didn't expect this to happen. After being startled, she felt a burst of ecstasy. Great, I didn't expect the stinky woman to be so stupid. She didn't even want young Master Li's support and insisted on confronting her head-on. Since this stinky woman is looking for death, she doesn't mind letting her know why the flowers are so red. Li Beer narrowed his eyes viciously and smiled, do you dare to compete with me on horseback? Better than riding a horse? Everyone around them frowned. The girl that Mr. Li brought had never gone horse riding with them from the beginning. Either she was really on her menstrual period, or she didn't know how to ride a horse at all. No matter which possibility it was, at this moment there is no way to compete with Rebirth on horseback. This Rebirth is really a good calculator. In this way, he can regain his face without any bloodshed and turn an army back. Speaking of which, everyone's attention fell on Xiaoling again. This girl was really stupid. She dug a hole for herself. Xiao Zhou asked Li Lei with his eyes. As long as Li Lei gave a signal, he would intervene. No matter how stupid or naive the girl that Mr. Li brought was, he couldn't let Li Beer bully her anymore, otherwise, he couldn't bear the anger of Mr. Li. But Li Lei just narrowed his eyes slightly, looking at Xiaoling with a little more interest and thoughtfulness. Xiaoling did not retreat as everyone expected. On the contrary, she just asked lightly, "Are you sure?" Her calm look made Li Beer not sure. No, she was about to make a fool of herself. How could this stinky woman be so calm? This stinky woman, who was so poor not long ago, must not be able to do such an expensive and money-burning sport as horse riding. This is why Li Beer dared to propose a horse riding competition. She was sure that the stinky woman would lose. But now, she was a little hesitant. On the side, a girl said softly, "It's not good to have a horse riding competition." Miss Ye said she was not feeling well. She had refused to go horse riding with us before. What she said was that she was afraid that the world would not be in chaos. She was not convinced by Xiaoling. Being able to get close to a top financial sponsor like Mr. Li, she was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred, so she almost told Li Beer to go ahead. This stinky woman didn't know how to ride a horse at all, she was just bluffing. Xiaoling glanced at the girl with a half-smile. The girl felt that Xiaoling's gaze was like ice. She could see through everything in just a moment, which made her feel a little afraid. She subconsciously hid in the crowd. After listening to the girl's words, Li Beer's originally wavering determination became firmer. Yes, this stinky woman definitely doesn't know how to ride a horse and is just bluffing. She won't be fooled, it's better than riding a horse. Let this stinky woman make a fool of herself. It's better than riding a horse, Li Beer said arrogantly, "You shouldn't be afraid anymore." Unexpectedly, Xiaoling still smiled calmly, "Okay, it's better than riding a horse." Li Beer was stunned. She didn't expect that she would agree so easily. Could she really know how to ride? However, Xiaoling spoke again, "It would be boring to have no winnings in the game. Otherwise, let's bet on something. If Miss Li loses, it won't be as simple as just leaving. In addition to leaving, she also has to." She tilted her head slightly, looked at Li Beer, and smiled brightly, "This necklace you are wearing is so beautiful." Li Beer wears a gorgeous colored diamond necklace around her neck, shining brightly in the sun. "I see." Li Beer stroked the necklace. "Humph, it turns out that the stinky woman is retreating in order to advance. Did she think she would be reluctant to part with this necklace and refuse to compete? This necklace was indeed very expensive, even she couldn't afford it, so she asked someone to borrow it. But even so, she wasn't afraid. This stinky woman couldn't ride a horse, so she would definitely win any bet. Thinking of this, Li Beer smiled ferociously, "Let's bet. But this necklace is not cheap. Can you make a bet of equal value?" Seeing that Xiaoling didn't have any expensive jewelry on her body, she couldn't bear it. "Keep taunting. I'll help her out," Li Lei interjected lazily. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 58. Chapter 58, A Precious Private Horse. Xiaoling glanced at him and smiled, "Okay, I'll borrow it from you." Li Lei was very sad. This little girl really wants to draw a clear line without giving any face to her? The looks in the eyes of the rich kids around are weird, aren't they? Did they hear it right? Did this little girl say borrow? You know, At their status, it is a woman's honor to be willing to help women with gambling funds. For people like Xiaoling who are only willing to borrow money, it is simply a slap in the face. This little girl dares to hit Mr. Li in the face? Amidst the weird looks from a group of people, Li Lei became even more sad and muttered in a low voice, "I told you, but I haven't caught him yet." Du Yunfan couldn't help laughing. "It's so rare, Li Er, there are times when you can't handle it." He patted his good brother on the shoulder, decided to help him, turned to Xiaoling, "Little girl, how about giving you some luck? If you win on horseback, I'll give you a tea set." It is taboo for women to give clothes and jewelry to their brothers. Only tea sets are safe and can be very expensive. Just when Xiaoling was about to refuse, several other children from rich families also expressed their opinions. "Yes, little girl, if you win, our brothers will have gifts for you. I heard that you are a singer, so I will give you a set of speakers. I'll give you a VIP card for a fitness club. I'll give you a bottle of Zhen's Collector's Edition red wine. And I..." For a time, everyone was talking and promising good things. Xiaoling was stunned. She didn't expect things to turn out like this. Li Lei, on the other hand, smiled happily. "In that case, you're welcome. Go, go, I didn't see you off." Everyone booed him. Li Lei was still smiling. "Xiaoling, let's have a good competition. If you win, you will get a lot of money." Xiaoling came back to her senses and smiled bitterly. Although she wanted to refuse, these rich kids were very enthusiastic and it wasn't a matter of principle, so they couldn't offend so many people all at once. So, she nodded, "Thank you all then." All the rich kids cheered and felt a sense of accomplishment. Look, this girl refused to accept Li Er's gift, but she was willing to accept theirs. It was a rare opportunity to pressure Li Er. This feeling was really so satisfying. Li Lei couldn't laugh or cry. Who are these people? However, when he saw that his friends had a good impression of Xiaoling, he was in a good mood. She was indeed the girl he liked, and she had conquered the hearts of so many wealthy young men just after meeting her. He was very proud, all kinds of proud, too proud. The other girls were very jealous, but no one dared to show it on their faces. They even had to laugh with the wealthy young men. Some of them had poor acting skills and their expressions were ridiculously distorted. Li Beier's expression was also very distorted. The competition hadn't even started yet, but the hearts of those rich kids were already distracted. They were all vying to give Xiaoling gifts, but no one wanted to give her Li Beier. What a bonus! The most outrageous thing is that even Major Zhou promised Xiaoling a gift and ignored her. In terms of momentum, Xiaoling far surpassed her. Li Beier felt bitter in her heart and waved her hand fiercely. "Let's go pick up the horse." She has already made up her mind. When she gets on the horse, she will make this stinky woman lose embarrassingly. A group of people came to the racecourse in great numbers. Li Lei suddenly remembered something, pulled Xiaoling's sleeve, and asked her in a low voice, "Are you really good at riding a horse?" Horse riding is a leisure activity for the rich. There are no dedicated coaches, a lot of money, and free time to practice. The bad thing is that he once asked his subordinates to investigate Xiaoling's history, and they didn't look like someone who could ride a horse. But he didn't know that Xiaoling was reborn. Xiaoling in her previous life was adopted and raised by Pei Ziyan, and she was considered to be the daughter of a semi-rich family. No. It should be said that she is richer than many rich people. Pei Ziyan does everything she wants and spends a lot of money on her. She has done everything from horse riding, surfing, racing, and all kinds of entertainment for rich people, and she is naturally athletic. Excellent, very good at every activity. I really know how to do it, she said to Li Lei. But, Li Lei asked, didn't you mean menstrual period? Xiaoling looked at him indifferently. I lied to you. Li Lei. This little girl actually dared to lie to him. Let's just record this dead. After he catches her, Let's see how he takes care of her properly. Li Bei didn't notice the little moves between the two, and quickly picked the horse before Xiaoling, announcing in a high-pitched voice, "I want this one." She picked a maroon, tall horse with a British accent. A purebred horse with a graceful body, slender and well-proportioned limbs, and explosive muscles. It looks like a good horse at first glance. In fact, Li Bei and many people present knew that this horse named Rouge Blood was a famous horse of the Nanshan Racing Club and the best horse that ordinary members could borrow. In order to be with his financial lord, Li Bei had deliberately practiced his riding skills, and getting this horse made him even more powerful. Many people were sighing in their hearts. It seemed that the girl brought by Mr. Li was going to lose. But Xiaoling walked calmly among the horses and picked them up. Ordinary people who don't know how to ride a horse would be timid when seeing so many tall horses, but Xiaoling was not. She was as calm as if she was strolling in her own back garden. Even when she looked at the horses, her clear eyes were calm. After a while, everyone saw that this girl really knew horses. But so what? The best horse has been picked by Li Bei, and the rest cannot be reached by foot. Are there any other horses? Xiaoling asked. Yes, said the club usher who accompanied them to choose horses. There are also 2 Arabian horses, a track-enter horse, and a British thoroughbred horse. These 4 horses all have pedigree certificates. Purebred, only Supreme Black Card members can borrow it. I have the Supreme Black Card. Li Lei looked at Xiaoling with a bright smile. Xiaoling, no need. In fact, what she was really interested in was not these horses. Use mine. We all have Supreme Black Cards. A group of rich second-generation people are afraid that the world will not be in chaos. Xiaoling raised her head and decided that it would be better to ignore them. However, she remembered that there were not only these horses in the Nanshan Racing Club, but also a few special ones, which were private horses fostered here by wealthy people. She pondered and asked Li Lei, "What horse did you ride just now?" "Me," Li Lei said, "my own Hanoverian horse." He has a Hanoverian horse with good pedigree fostered here, but unfortunately, although the Hanoverian horse has extraordinary jumping ability, it is not as suitable for competition as the British thoroughbred horse. Speed, so Li Lei didn't offer to lend the horse to Xiaoling just now, but wanted to use his Supreme Black Card to help her borrow the club's purebred horse. However, Xiaoling said, "Can you take me to see it?" Okay, Li Lei agreed simply. Although it was a bit surprising, he was happy that she was interested in his horse. Mr. Li wants to take people to see his horses. Who dares to have any objections? So, a group of people followed Li Lei and moved to the club's special racecourse area. Here, all the horses are privately fostered by Supreme Black Card members. They are not usually open to the public. The valuable horses are kept loose, and occasionally a graceful figure passes through everyone's sight. Li Lei put his hand to his lips and whistled. The figure of a dark black horse appeared in front of everyone. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 59. Chapter 59. Her Song. The fur on its body is dark and shiny, and its long mane is spread like satin, which is extremely gorgeous. Its eyes were as deep and calm as a pool of calm water. It came to Li Lei step by step and gracefully bowed its head to its owner. "It's so beautiful," someone praised in a low voice. Although they had just seen Li Lei ride a horse not long ago, they were envious of seeing such a horse once. Li Lei smiled and patted the horse's head, then turned to Xiaoling and introduced, "It's called Xiaolei, you can ride it." He gave the horse the same name as himself. You can imagine how much he likes it, except for Xiaoling. He didn't let anyone ride it. For a time, The rich kids who knew the inside story looked at Xiaoling a few more times. Xiaoling, however, just slowly looked around it, not saying whether to ride or not. In fact, when no one was paying much attention, she glanced in its direction several times. What she longed to see was another horse. She didn't know if it was still here or how it was doing. She looked at it for a long time, and just when she was about to feel disappointed, a fiery red figure appeared not far away. The horse was like a gust of wind or a swift red lightning. Before anyone could react, it ran straight towards Xiaoling. It was extremely fast, going from far to near in just an instant, and it seemed to be carrying a huge power. Even the Xiaolei of Li Lei's family couldn't help but take a few steps back. "Watch out," several people shouted. "That horse is running very fast. Once hit by it, you will either die or be maimed." The incident happened suddenly, and Li Lei reached out to pull Xiaoling, trying to pull her to a safe area. However, it was as if there were roots under her feet, and she remained motionless. She just stood there blankly, watching the horse galloping towards her. It's over, is this girl scared out of her mind? Many people couldn't bear to look at her. This girl was going to be beaten into a pulp soon. At the critical moment, the horse that was running as fast as lightning came to a sudden stop when it was still half a step away from Xiaoling. So close. The boulder in everyone's hearts fell to the ground. Du Yunfan was the first to react and couldn't help scolding Xiaoling, "What are you doing standing there stupidly? Li Erla doesn't leave even if you don't leave, you know it's very dangerous." Li Lei didn't pull her away just now, so he didn't have time to leave. If they really hit each other, it wouldn't matter whether this girl died or not, but if Li Lei was injured somewhere, it would be a big deal. "Yes, why are you in such a daze?" Several rich kids reacted one after another and spoke one after another. However, at this moment, Xiaoling could no longer listen to anything. All her attention was on the breathtakingly beautiful fiery red horse in front of her. She slowly stretched out her hand to touch the gorgeous blood satin mane on the horse's neck, stroking it up and down, as if saying hello to an old friend she hadn't seen for many years. The horse tilted its head docilely and allowed her to stroke it motionlessly. Its bright gem-like eyes stared at her with attachment, with loyalty, longing, and many indescribable sadness and grievances in its eyes. Kinga Li Lei recognized the horse and watched Xiaoling interact with it in surprise. It turned out to be Kinga. Many people also recognized the horse. Among this group of rich kids, there are many people who foster horses in Nanshan. All fosters know Kinga. She is so special. She is the only mare among this group of foster horses, but she is also the arrogant queen of the entire group. This subverts the situation. Horses have a tradition of respecting stallions. It is so fierce that no one can come within 3 steps of it except its owner. But its owner has passed away. It was Miss Xiaoling's favorite horse during her lifetime. The accompanying receptionist finally came back to her senses at this time. No one knew that the girl in front of them who interacted closely with Kinga was Xiaoling's Rebirth. Only Kinga, in the vast sea of people, in the long years of loneliness after losing her master, recognized her at first sight. In its eyes, there are her past and present lives. Xiaoling combed its mane up and down, and many memories came to her mind. She still remembers that she traveled all over the world and spent 2 years breeding him. She also made a special trip to the UK in the wind and snow to witness his birth and take him back on a special plane. She named it Kinga, tamed it, and drove it on the horse farm. Later, she was too busy and her interest in horse riding faded away. She was afraid that it would be boring to stay alone in the big house, so she sent it to the Nanshan Racing Club to be free-range with many horses of noble blood. This way, it would be happier. Later, she was imprisoned by Pei Xian and never saw it again. This meeting was more than 2 years after the last separation. "Sorry, Kinga, I'm late." She put her cheek against the horse's mane and said softly at a volume that no one could hear. Kinga understood her words and neighed softly. "It's incredible, the receptionist murmured. Kinga actually takes the initiative to get close to people. Can I ride it? Xiaoling raised her head and asked. At first, what she wanted to come to the free-range area to see was not Li Lei's horse, but Qing Ji. More than 2 years have passed, and she can't help but miss it. However, the receptionist was in a dilemma. Miss, this is the horse that Miss Xiaoling fostered during her lifetime. It is currently under the name of the Emperor, Mr. Pei Xian. Mr. Pei has issued a message forbidding anyone to touch it. It turns out that it is Pei Xian's horse now. Xiaoling reluctantly let go of Qing Ji. She should have thought long ago that after her death, her inheritance would probably belong to Pei Xian, and Kinga would be no exception. She doesn't want to have anything to do with Pei Xian anymore. Then forget it. She suppressed her sadness, turned around, and walked out step by step. You don't want to pick a horse, do Yunfan asked. Xiao Lei from Li's family is also pretty good, and you can also borrow the British thoroughbred horse raised by the club. The ones used by ordinary members at the racecourse are fine, she said half-heartedly. Can't ride Kinga. For her, it doesn't matter whether she rides a purebred Hanoverian, a British thoroughbred horse, or any inferior horse with unknown pedigree. She walked out slowly. The background was lonely and desolate. Kinga sensed that she was leaving, jogged 2 steps to keep up with her, and called in a low, anxious voice. She walked faster and faster, not daring to stop, for fear that once she stopped, she would never be able to move again. Kay can sing without hesitation, and each cry becomes more urgent than the last. Finally, she couldn't help it and stopped. Kinga stretched his beautiful head over her shoulder and gently pressed his cheek against hers. She closed her eyes slightly, feeling its warm fur to prevent her tears from flowing out. How can I ride it? Suddenly, she heard Li Lei asking. Then the receptionist gave an awkward answer. Mr. Pei has given a strict order that you can't ride it under any conditions. In fact, he felt very sorry that such an outstanding horse as Kinga would be left idle forever and never be able to ride again. People can ride. Pei Xian attaches great importance to this horse, Li Lei's voice said. Husher, yes. What if it dies? Huh, the receptionist was stunned. Which situation is more serious, that it dies or that it is ridden? Li Liun smiled lightly, as if he was talking about a commonplace matter. It makes Xiaoling feel bad, it makes me feel bad. When you're in a bad mood, you can do anything. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 60. Chapter 60. I'll give you a lap. The receptionist was shocked and threatened. This is Hongguokyo's threat. Li, Mr. Li, you can't do this, the receptionist stuttered. This horse, it. He was incoherent and almost cried in anxiety. Oh my God, he can't mess with Mr. Pei. Come on, he can't afford to offend the ancestor in front of him. Li Lei smiled and said, I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. Borrow. The receptionist made a quick decision and shouted with a cry, can't I borrow it? Just kidding, this young man Li is a famous smiling tiger. He looks cheerful and kind, but in his heart he is extremely cruel. Why are everyone so afraid? Isn't it because he can really do anything? The receptionist had no doubt that he really dared to kill Pei Xian's horse. If the horse died in the Nanshan Racing Club, Pei Xian would definitely be furious, and the entire club would be in great trouble. The receptionist looked sad and felt that today was extremely unlucky. Li Lei was satisfied and his smile became even brighter. Well, you are very aware of current affairs. If you can't survive in the future, come to me. Although he was cruel in his actions, he would not push innocent people to death. This little waiter, it was obviously because of him that the waiter had no choice but to offend Pei Xian. He gave the little receptionist a way out, which was both a comfort and a reward. These people who work in high-end clubs are all smart, and the little receptionist certainly understands what Li Lei means. In an instant, he felt that he was not unlucky at all today, he was simply too lucky to hang out with young Master Li. Gee, he felt so good just thinking about it that his mouth watered. The little receptionist smiled brightly and went through the horse borrowing procedures neatly. Xiaoling didn't expect that Li Lei would help her borrow a horse, and she felt moved in her heart. "Thank you," she said to him softly, leaning on her beautiful mane. Li Lei looked at her. Her slender figure leaned against Kinga's strong and well-proportioned body, and she looked strangely coordinated and beautiful. This girl was always careful not to owe him any favors, and only by borrowing Kinga for her could she be happy. No, this was the first time she spoke to him in such a soft tone. Li Lei's eyes softened and he was in a good mood. Okay, we can finally compete." Du Yunfan stood up and spoke. "Yeah, Yedu, Li Beer, since you have chosen your horse, let's start quickly. It will be dark if it is late." "This is not fair," Li Beer shouted angrily. "She got Kinga, the fastest horse in the entire Nanshan club. My horse can't outrun her at all." As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at Li Beer with contempt. Xiaoling's Kinga is a hybrid of a purebred horse and a blood horse. It is as fast as lightning and is indeed the fastest. However, when Li Beer took the lead in picking out a bay-red horse, thinking that Xiaoling would only get an inferior horse, why didn't she think of unfairness? "Tuesday, your vision in selecting people needs to be improved." A young man from a rich family looked at Li Beer with disgust, then turned to Zhou Xiao and said earnestly. Mr. Zhou felt very embarrassed. Yes, I will kick her when I get back." These words did not shy away from Li Beer at all. Li Beer was immediately frightened. Mr. Zhou, you can't do this," she said with a tearful tone. "If you embarrass me again, you won't even get the breakup fee." Mr. Zhou frowned impatiently. Li Beer immediately shut up and held back the tears that were about to burst out. Seeing that it was a foregone conclusion that she would be abandoned by young Master Tuesday, she was counting on the breakup fee to finally make a profit. She could no longer struggle with the breakup fee. "It's all that stinky woman's fault." She glared at Xiaoling fiercely. Xiaoling said slowly, "I don't mind changing horses with you. If you want to ride Kinga, please do so." Li Beer's eyes lit up. If she rides Kinga, she can definitely beat that stinky woman. However, just when she tried to get closer to Kinga, the fiery red and extremely beautiful horse had raised its front hoof slightly and stared at her threateningly. Very scary. Li Beer was so frightened that her heart skipped a beat and she stopped in her tracks. She didn't dare to get within 3 steps of Qing Ji. Damn it, why didn't this horse let her get close? Why are you only willing to accept that stinky woman? Li Beer was very angry, but she knew that if she tried again she would only be embarrassed, so she just snorted bitterly and pretended to be innocent and left Kinga's attack range. "I don't care about it. Anyway, even if you win on Kinga, it will be disgraceful." She found a way out for herself first, so that if this stinky woman wins with Kinga, she can also regain her face. Oh. Actually, she wanted to ride Kinga not to win, but because she missed her beloved horse too much. If it were just about winning or losing, with her supreme riding skills, she could beat a person to pieces even with an inferior horse. However, everyone around was surprised. "Give a circle?" "You're not mistaken, according to the rules of Nanshan Racecourse, the competition only lasts 3 laps, and 1 lap is 1/3. This is too much of a concession. Little girl, you have to think clearly and don't be impulsive. That bay red horse is also a good horse, and Li Beer's riding skills are also good. It's too risky for you," someone advised. "It doesn't matter." Xiaoling was full of confidence and looked directly at Li Beer. "I'll give you a chance. If I lose, I will give you a bet according to the previous agreement. If you lose, you must also follow the previous promise." "Okay." Li Beer gritted his teeth and accepted the decision amidst everyone's disdainful gazes. There was no other way. She remembered the agreement she made before. If she lost, she would have to roll away in front of Xiaoling and lose a colorful diamond necklace to Xiaoling. The price was too high. So, be ashamed of yourself. Since this stupid woman offered to let herself go, why didn't she accept this kind of good thing for free? The competition officially begins. The referee gave the order, and Li Beer took the lead on the bay red horse and rushed out. She deliberately rode slowly, taking full advantage of the one-lap advantage and conserving enough power to wait until the next 2 laps to exert her power. The people watching from the sidelines despised her even more. Your girl ya won't lose, right? Du Yunfan poked Li Lei with his elbow and asked in a low voice. How could that happen? Li Lei glared at him dissatisfied. You won't lose even if you do this. Du Yunfan was very curious. What is her riding skill level? Is it god level? How do I know? I've never seen her ride a horse. You've never seen her riding a horse before, so you're so confident. Du Yunfan almost fainted. Of course, my people, Li Lei said proudly. Du Yunfan. He was sure that Li Er was really in love this time. Only people in love could have such a horribly low IQ. Unfortunately, Li Lei couldn't hear his inner complaints and was concentrating on looking at the race course. Xiaoling appeared. End of this chapter.